Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 16th, 2025 Planning Commission, Apple Valley Planning Commission meeting to order. First item out of business is the approval of the agenda. Any changes from staff?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. We do not have any additions or changes for you at this time.
Thank you. Any changes from the commissioners?
No.
Can I get an approval?
Madam Chair, I recommend approval of the agenda.
Second.
The motion was made by Commissioner Scanlon, seconded by Commissioner Maholwald. Any comments? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The next item of business is the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda items are considered routine and will be enacted with a single motion without a discussion unless a commissioner or a citizen requests to have any item separately considered. It will then be moved to the regular agenda for consideration. Can I get a motion of approval?
So moved.
Second.
Made by Commissioner Scanlon, seconded by Commissioner Maholwald. Any questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. This brings us to our number 4, which is a public hearing tonight. Public hearing is on the Valley Station Apartments. At this point, will open up the public hearing. We will now open the public hearing for agenda item 4A. The affidavit of publication for the notice of public hearing is available for inspection in the planning department. Everyone wishing to speak at this public hearing should be sure to fill out the attendance roster. Please include your name and your address so that accurate records can be maintained. We will begin the procedure with a brief presentation by city staff, followed by a presentation by the petitioner of the hearing. Upon the conclusion of the presentation, city staff will be asked to comment on the proposal's conformance with pertinent regulations and policies. After that, comments will be taken from the general public. Terry Dill.
Thank you, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. Tonight's request is for Valley Station Apartments, and they are requesting 2 land use applications approvals. One is amendments to the Plan Development District, number 507, subzone 2, and then also for site plan and building permit authorization. The site is located at 7169 153rd Street. The site is surrounded by Minnesota Valley Transit Station, which is located directly to the north. There's a floor and decor store located to the west. And Orchard Square Apartments is located directly to the south. And then there's also Chasewood Family Rental Townhomes that are located directly to the east. The future land use for the site is guided for suburban intensive high density. And the current zoning of the property, as I mentioned, was PD 507 subzone 2. The densities for this property are guided for 24 to 48 units per acre, and the proposal that they are having before you tonight has a density of 47.7 units per acre, which does align with the 2040 comprehensive plan. As part of these requirements, or the amendments, they are asking for 6 different sections of the PD 507 subzone 2 to be amended. One is to reduce the setback that's required from the neighborhood street, which is 155th, which is located on the north side, from 40 feet to 25-foot setback. They're asking to increase the maximum units per acre from 16 to 48. They're asking to reduce the minimum square footage of land required per unit from 2,760 square feet to 916 square feet. They're also asking the allowed coverage to increase from 20 to 35% of the lot, and increase the maximum stories from 3 to 5 stories, and the maximum height from 45 to 60 feet. And then the last amendment that they're requesting is to eliminate the minimum 1 to 3 roof pitch that's required for all multifamily structures in that district. The site plan shown above, as I mentioned, it's a 5-story apartment building. The main entrance will be facing east with the parking lot out front. The setbacks are 30 feet from the east property line, 15 feet from the south property line, and then 25 feet from the north property line, which is part of the amendments. Amenities that they're proposing with this development include a clubhouse or community room, outdoor patio, grill area, fitness center, bike storage, electric car chargers, a dog run, a tot lot. It's located in the front of the site. The site itself will feature 1 to 3 bedroom units with a mix of all 3. The majority of them will be 2-bedroom units. This is a workforce housing development proposition. With that, they are required to have a 60% area median income threshold for the residents. That is something that they are also applying for grants for this application, and this will also receive funding from the CDA. The site itself has 3 underground garages that are provided on the site. The one access will be located in the north, kind of the front corner of the property. There's another garage access from the driveway access off of Gaslight Drive, and it'll enter into the garage on the south side. And then there's another 3rd garage entrance that will be on the south side. Due to the grades, these 3 garages actually are not connected, so they're separate garage units. The proposal also includes 240 total parking spaces will be provided, which is 1.6 spaces per unit. That includes both 1 garage stall for each tenant, and then also 77 surface parking spaces in the front parking lot area. Staff does have some concerns about the parking. We've asked them to do a parking analysis, just looking at the demands based on the different units, the 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, just to determine if this will be sufficient parking for this site. Before you, there's a grading plan for the site. They will have an underground stormwater retention system. They'll be located underneath the parking lot. The next plan sheet is a utility plan. Part of this development, they will be required to relocate the sanitary sewer. It also requires that existing drainage and utility easements be vacated and rededicated on this site. The sanitary sewer is extending from the east side, which is property that's owned by the CDA, and they have said that they would participate in those easements. We'll also need to get an easement from them to relocate that sanitary sewer. The landscape plan that they provided has a nice, healthy mix of different landscape trees, both coniferous, ornamental, and deciduous trees, along with trees in the parking lot. They do have coniferous trees that are around the entrance into the garage on the south side for screening and for headlights. And then they also have some additional coniferous trees along the south property line. This is a rendering of the building looking from the northwest corner of the elevation, the building elevation. This is Gaslight Drive running north-south here, and then 155th Street running east-west. The proposed building materials include a stone veneer, cultured stone. They're also proposing to use James Hardy siding in 2 different colors. One's a lighter white and then a darker bronze gray color. And then at the base of all the structures, they will be using decorative block. Here's a rendering just showing the different materials that they're proposing and the percentages on each elevation. Another rendering. Here's a rendering as you're looking at the southeast elevation of the site. So this is Gaslight Drive. And this is from the west elevation, again, Gaslight Drive located there. This is the entrance. You will be driving under the building to access the parking lot. And then the entrance into the 1 garage unit is in this location here. This is a view from the east elevation with the outdoor patio area and the tot lot. And then one of the last elevations, we asked them to provide more of an overview of the site, being that it's 5 stories and just how it's blending in with the other properties. And this is the floor plan of the site, showing the parking lot out front, and again, the garage entrances, showing the separate garages. The third garage stall is underneath the floor plan on the north side of the building. So with that, I'm available for any questions you may have, and the applicant and their representatives are also here if you have any questions for them.
Okay. Thank you, Terry. Commissioner Pruitt.
Ms. Chair, thank you very much. Terry, if you could help me understand the request in the second amendment regarding the maximum units per acre from 16 to 48, when it appears that 48 is within the kind of 2040 comprehensive plan. Maybe I don't understand that correctly.
Correct. So the comprehensive plan allows the 24 to 48 units, so it's guided for the correct designation, but the zoning does not comply with the future guided land use. So the zoning only allows the lower densities. A lot of times when comprehensive plans are updated, the zoning should be rezoned to match those. In this site, it has not, so we are asking for that amendment.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Scanlon?
Madam Chair. You did a nice job with your presentation here, and the seems like there's a nice mix of materials for the exterior and how the space is used and shifting up. I do have a couple of questions, and you said that there's a formal parking plan that's going to be coming forward for us
Correct.
to be able to see. I just have some, that's the most blaring thing that comes out at me, because over majority of the units are 111 plus of them are either 2 or 3 bedroom, and that the 1.6 I don't think is going to be adequate to do that. And then there's the concern with business parking across the street that's not going to be allowed, and then also with the transit station. And there's minimal street parking, even with the change on that's mentioned on 154th, is it? Excuse me if I got that wrong.
155th. Yeah.
55th, thank you. So that's kind of a concern that I have here. Has the fire department made any comment as far as egress with the parking lot, the way it's set up and maneuverability? Are we getting ahead of myself when I ask that question?
No, they did receive the plans, but we did not receive any comments.
Okay, it just seems awful tight around in some of that, and that's what brought about my question to you on that.
Commissioner Scanlon, one other thing that we did ask for them to submit auto turn movements, so those will be coming in.
Okay,
So,
and one other thing I'd like to see also with this is a formal lighting plan to be able to show light projections, especially on that eastern side of the parking lot, and how that may or may not affect the neighboring properties. That's a concern that I have, especially with going down to only 15 feet along there. That's something that's coming out. Unfortunately, we can't flip it around, just the nature of the lot, that it would be better if the parking was on the other side towards Cedar, but it's not going to work out that way. And have you had any discussions with the applicant concerning the additional 2 stories on it?
I'm sorry,
Additional 2 stories from minimum of, or the maximum of 3 with the request of 5?
yeah, so this was part of the original RFP that was submitted to the city for the city selling the property to the developer. And as part of that, the 5 stories and the density were allowed in their proposal that was presented. One of the things that we did talk about was the design of the structure and the 5 stories, and they have, go back to the elevation, used the lighter colors in the design of it to kind of lessen the height of it so that it would fit in. They're using the darker colors on the bottom portion of the structure, just to, it is 5 stories. Transit station is located directly north. The apartments that are behind it are 3 stories. So it's just to kind of lessen the height impact.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of getting concerned how it mixes with the existing neighborhood with that height and dealing with that. So thank you for your explanation.
Terry, that's my concern too, is the 5. So the Eagles, not the Eagles, why did I say the Eagles? The Legends on 140th and Cedar. How, is that 5?
I believe that is a 4-story.
That's 4-story. So the 5-story just tends to be a little overbearing, I think, in that neighborhood. Even 4 would be better than 5, but I guess I'm a little concerned about the 5 stories myself. What else did I want to ask? Maybe I'll ask the applicant when they come up. How many garages were on the bottom, or how many parking spaces were on the bottom?
There are 162 garage spaces.
162 and 240 on the main up of,
I'm sorry, what was that?
was it 240 on the other?
Total parking.
Total parking, okay. Commissioner Mahowald?
Thank you, Chair. Kind of following up, Mike, I think the original picture that you had, that, or maybe it's the picture that with the elevation looking back towards it. Yeah, the previous one. That's just huge. I mean, everything adjacent to it is, it's dwarfed by that building. That will forever change the character of that neighborhood. Even the apartment buildings to the south, which are at the upper right-hand corner in this elevation, when you look down on them, there is lawn, there are trees, there's landscaping. The townhome development to the immediately to the east is outstanding in terms of a multifamily development with mature trees. Parking areas are spread, so you'll have a cluster of 6 or 8 or whatever parking spaces here down the road. It has just a wonderful, walkable neighborhood feel, and this will completely transform that neighborhood, in my opinion. So I'm concerned about, the guide gives us, I guess we're looking at between this 24 to 48 units per acre. I would be curious to see what how many units a three-story building could accommodate. Clearly, there's been a decision by the city to move forward with higher density for this area adjacent to the transit station, but it looks to me it's a 24 to 48 unit per acre range. But I don't understand also, you had mentioned something with respect to the acquisition of the land, if the number of units, the type of building was considered for that, the height of the building, 5 stories. But the way that the housing was done to the south and to the east is outstanding. And this is a drastic and dramatic change, in my opinion.
Yes, so Commissioner Mahol, this proposed building is what was submitted with their RFP to the council when they selected a developer for this site. The future guided land use, the intensive suburban high density, is the most dense district, and this was the location that they chose because it is close to the transit station and trying to locate density next to that use so that people can take advantage of it.
Done. Commissioner Sandel?
Madam Chair, Terry, I'm just not completely understanding. Is this basically like we don't really have a say in allowing the 5 then? Is this one of those things that are kind of out of our control?
Commissioner Sandel, this is an application site plan review, so it's what you would review and you would provide your recommendation to the city council. So just as background, I was just providing information that this was the building that was included in the RFP that went to the city council. But it's your review as a recommending body to the city council.
Okay, thank you.
good thing is it'll be quiet. I mean, it'll break the noise from Cedar Avenue, but, Commissioner Halas.
Thank you, Chair. Terry, nice presentation. You mentioned something about a application that was going to be put through or is put through. Can you tell us at what step that is at and what the progression is, where it needs to go?
Yes, so Commissioner, there is a transit-oriented district grant application that's available with the Met Council. That would be one grant that they would be applying for this site. So that is, support of affordable workforce-type housing units that are within a half-mile of a transit station. And the funding is for the development of the actual housing project.
We'll follow up on that. The funding would come from where?
The Met Council.
And at what step are we at right now?
Oh, I'm sorry. The applications are due August 11th, but we have not made application yet. And as part of that grant submittal process, we will need to go to the city council to get a resolution of support before it can be submitted.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Terry? If not, would the applicant like to come up?
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for having us this evening and listening to the proposal. I'm Blaine Barker with Real Estate Equities. I also have with me representatives from the architect, Cost Wilson Architects, and Laux Engineering, who's the civil engineer and landscape architect. Real Estate Equities is St. Paul-based multifamily developer, operator, and owner. We own manage 5,000 apartment units, primarily here in the Twin Cities Metro. We own everything we develop. We own them long-term, minimum of 15 years, often longer. We manage all of our properties. What we're proposing this evening is very similar to other workforce developments that we've built throughout the Metro, including here in Dakota County. We focus on the larger bedroom types, the 2 and 3 bedrooms. We see a lot of demand for families at these income levels and at these rent levels. So that's what we primarily focus on. We take great pride in what we build. They are, workforce developments. They are income and rent restricted, but we build them to a market rate standard. You should never know that it's workforce housing when you're looking at it, whether it's from the exterior or interior. So we have a lot of the same features you'd see in a typical market rate development. Granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, LVP flooring. Staff mentioned the amenities. We have a dog run, club room with outdoor patio, playground. So we see tremendous demand throughout the Metro, including in Dakota County here. We know it's the same case in Apple Valley, and I'm excited for an opportunity to potentially become a part of your community. So thanks again for having us this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Lane. Anyone? So I guess I have a question, but it's more about the exterior of it. The recess, how you have that coming out. Is it possible to do the recess on the floor itself or the level? You have 5 stories. Each story, can you recess one of the stories? What I've heard is that the pedestrian it's a better viewer, for the pedestrians when they're walking on the sidewalk and stuff. Do you follow what I'm saying? Is that possible?
I think so. I'll actually invite Christian Borgen from Cost Wilson Architects he can better speak to that. Thank you.
Don't go too far away, though.
Yep, I won't.
Yeah, Chair, members of the commission, my name's Christian Borgen from Cost Wilson Architects.
Christian.
Just hoping you can clarify a bit. Are you talking, so there's kind of the bump outs in the
Correct.
building?
Bump outs,
and
is that
you're,
what you call it?
Flattening
Okay.
them on the first floor to,
Correct.
and have the other ones kind of overhang?
Correct.
Yeah, certainly possible and something we could explore. It means a little less square footage for those units on the first floor that are on the north end. I know there's just parking on the south end, so that'd be a little more realistic. But on the first floor, we'd just have to explore that a little bit more, see how it impacts those units and the designs of those. But certainly something we could look at.
Okay, thank you. Before Christian sits down, does anybody have a question on the building itself? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Christian.
Okay, anybody else have a question for Lane at all?
Madam Chair?
When did you do that? I didn't see you do
Slip
it.
that in.
Commissioner
Madam Chair?
Scanlon?
My question kind of hinges back to my questions with Terry is on parking. With your experience, and like you mentioned, the focus here too is on 2 and 3 bedroom units. And the way it's currently set up, it's just over 1.6 spaces per unit. What you find with these type of units and the parking requirements?
Yep, thank you, Commissioner Scanlon. We've typically developed at a parking ratio of about 1.7 to 1.9 stalls per unit for comparable developments with comparable unit mixes throughout the suburbs of the Twin Cities. One mitigating factor here, because we are slightly below where we would typically want to be, which is at that, about 1.8, is at all those other properties, we do charge for the covered parking at a rate of $75 per month. Here, to mitigate the slightly lower parking ratio that we have compared to the rest of our portfolio, we are not charging for that covered garage. Every unit will get a free parking space. Because naturally what happens when we do charge for the parking at those other properties,
Go empty.
there is some vacancy. So not every parking space is being utilized. So actually at the 1.6 parking ratio with, if you consider your parking vacancy 0 because it's all free, we actually think we're gonna have a higher ratio in terms of utilized stalls than our other properties where on the face, the parking ratio is higher than what we're proposing, but we're charging for that parking, which creates some of that natural vacancy.
Yeah, the concern then still comes back to is there's going to be minimal on-street parking available. And then you're talking just about resident parking without even consideration, or we even had discussion of visitor parking to be able to support that. And that's, again, where I'm struggling with my initial review, and this is going to come, of course, we're going to do a parking study of it so that this gets flushed out, but just on the surface, those are things as my initial review of this is, to me, it kind of just really pops that there's going to be a real concern with parking. With the comments in terms of the number of stories of the building, especially with going to the parking concern that we as a planning commission look at something less than the proposed 5 stories. Is that something still feasible for this project, or?
Yeah, Commissioner, unfortunately not. We feel that our proposal as it currently sits is very consistent with what was presented to the EDA when we made an offer to purchase this land last summer as part of the request for proposals.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. That's all the questions I have at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Halas?
Thanks for coming here tonight. Just wanted to, you said you have multiple properties in other places, metro area, are we talking?
Correct. That's correct.
Do you have something that's near a transit station that you've dealt with before in the Twin Cities area? Is this, I think you referred to this as workforce apartments or
Yep,
housing?
workforce housing, yep.
Is this a newer concept for this type of thing, being right next to the transit station, or do you have something else in the Twin Cities you've done before?
Thank you, Commissioner Halas. This transit station will be the largest transit station we've developed near, which we do see as a benefit to our residents. When I was specifically speaking to, we've done similar developments. I was more so referring to the building and unit mix itself of, the workforce housing development targeting households at the 60% AMI and the predominantly 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units.
I'm just curious, and for your support or something, and what we were talking about with parking spaces, do you foresee that some of the people that are living there are going to be without a car using the transit as their main option?
We do. That data is tougher to quantify. Staff has actually asked us for some information, and we've been kind of digging into our portfolio to see that. We don't have a property that's as directly close, so it's hard to find a great comp for that. But as part of our parking study that is being asked of us and required, it would be our intent to incorporate some of that data in that as well. We do believe that there will be residents without a car that use the transit station, but we'd like to better quantify it before I throw a number out there on how many I expect it to be.
Thanks.
Commissioner Pruitt?
Yes, thank you, Chair Kurtz. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Barker. I really appreciate it. I was wondering, you made reference, and there was discussion about the parking and the 1.7 maybe is what you see, and this is a little bit slightly below that. Does your group also measure playground size? You make reference to a dog run, and I know that there's a request here to increase the allowable density coverage. Just curious how you measure that, and part of the reason I ask is I saw the picture of the elevation and I thought, oh, that's nice, and then I see how just massive this is, and it doesn't seem very big in the scope of things to allow for an area for the residents. Do you have a way that you measure what size of a playground area or dog run that you would put into a facility?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Pruitt. I might actually invite Doug Loken up from Laux, our landscape architect. Sorry to put you on the spot here, Doug.
Good evening. My name's Doug Loken. I'm a landscape architect with Laux out of Plymouth, Minnesota. I think we've done probably 10 projects with this developer, and we say playground. It's more like tot lot. So there's obviously various sizes of playgrounds. Tot lots are more geared for like the 2 to 6 year olds. And so the sizes are a little bit smaller, but based on the configuration of the site is how we select certain playground equipment. So we definitely size it prior to make it work for each site. Sorry.
That's okay. So, like I said, I think based on the number of units that this has, the 148 dwelling units, and there's a breakdown of, unit types, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. It just looked like, it was maybe checked a box to have a playground because a unit that size it just seemed pretty small, but.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, it's geared more for a tot lot size.
Okay.
Smaller children, younger children.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
I'll just add to that briefly. For apartment developed 150 units, we would typically have the one play structure. When we go north of 200, 250, we'd add a second one, and that's when we would actually have one that's the 2 to 6 tot lot and then maybe a 5 to 12. But typically, when we have a development of with this many units, we have the one play structure. I will say if there's a concern with the structure of the playground area, that's something we can look at. I think candidly, that'll be a more feasible change for us than reducing the height of the building. So I think that's something we can certainly entertain and take a look at.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Scanlon?
Madam Chair, follow-up question. With this being 148 units, how many residents would you, with your experience, be an expectation for a unit of a complex of this size? Number of people living there?
Yep, thank you, Commissioner. Based on our observations, we typically see about 1.2 to 1.3 residents per bedroom in a development like this, which I don't have a calculator on me, I apologize.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, that helps out to give a little better perspective on that. And the whole idea of the workforce apartment building and the complex here in relation to the transit station is, you know, the importance of that and having that living arrangement within Apple Valley to give residents opportunities for jobs outside of Apple Valley using transit and so forth. I'm still struggling with the density of this. And as Commissioner McComb had pointed out, and the effect that it's going to have on the existing surrounding neighborhood as far as changing the character of that. And so if that's something you can maybe keep in mind coming back to the next meeting to, you know, how that can be mitigated. Again, it just, the 5 stories is I'm having difficulty with. That. So that's what my comments are there. So thank you.
Commissioner Mahowald?
I think this is, thank you, Madam Chair, more of a comment than a question, I guess, but it's related to the discussion that we're having here. You know, the size of the playground and other amenities, the amount of green space that is allowed with the size of the building itself and the number of parking spaces that are required. I guess I'm just kind of curious as to how this, the density of this proposed development compares to, again, the development to the east, as well as the development to the south. Again, I'm just the density, units per acre, population per acre, relative to the amount of green space that's available, the playground. I'm assuming that the playground. I'm curious to see how the playground in the development to the east compares to the proposed tot lot in this, but those are just observations in terms of overall feel. Will this development be in any way connected to either the development to the south or the development to the east? Will there be sidewalks or other connections to those adjacent streets?
Thank you, Commissioner. Doug, I'll have to defer to you again. Do you know the sidewalk plan off the top of your head?
Currently, we are connecting to the street to the north and to Gaslight on the west, and there's connections to the neighborhood that way. We can't physically make the grades work to step up to the townhomes to the east and to the south. It's where our garage driveway entrance is, so there's no good pedestrian route that direction.
So the west and the north. Okay, thank you. Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Sandall?
Madam Chair, thank you also for coming in. There's a lot about this project that I really like. I like the architecture of it. I think it looks really nice. I lived in an apartment that looks a little similar to this when I first had kids, and the tot lot would have been amazing. So I love that you have that there and some of those extra amenities. So I think my concern just continues to be the 5 stories and changing the dynamic of that whole area. I think I have a question for Terry, actually.
Are we done with, everybody done with?
Sorry.
That's okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I'm just wondering, this was just an error. I just wanted to make sure we have the right information. On the, from Evan Acosta, the engineer, on the second page under grading and drainage plan, it says on number 28, it says there's concern about shared grading between the proposed 7 Brew and McDonald's lot. That's not this area, is that correct? Or is there a 7 Brew and a McDonald's coming in?
Commissioner Sandall, are you referring to the engineering review memo?
Yes.
Yeah, if it's referencing 7 Broad, I did not see that in there. That is an error.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I just want to make sure, like, is that just like one error in this and the rest of it was for the correct project? Or is this, do you know what I'm saying?
We'll let city staff,
Refer to it.
go ahead, Evan.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, yeah, that's just a lone error from the memo.
Perfect, thank you.
Good catch.
I just was like, another McDonald's is coming in? That was all, thank you.
Terry, what about the school? Have we checked in, like with the elementary, I know there's a school right there and stuff. If that many more people come on board and everything, the school district will be able to handle this and the school.
Chair Kurtz, we have not contacted the school district.
Okay, any more questions for Terry? Yes, Commissioner Pruitt?
Yes, thanks, Chair Kurtz. Terry, I guess back to a little bit to my original question and the 2040 comprehensive plan, and I fully understand and thank you for, making sure that it's understood that the ordinance hadn't been updated, though the comprehensive plan had. With that plan allowing for up to or anticipating 48 units per acre, trying to figure out the math on that, I anticipate it would have to be a 5-story building. I'm not sure how you would accomplish that. And was that even a consideration? And maybe that predates, your efforts here with the city. But I'm just wondering how you can accomplish a 48 units per acre if you don't have the height. And so it's a little bit more about the 2040 comprehensive plan and the thoughts and the desire of where we were headed as a city with that plan. To go from a density of 24 to 48 is, how do you accomplish that if it's not height? So.
Thank you, Commissioner Pruitt. Yes, being newer to the city, I was not here when the 2040 comp plan was, went through the review process. But that area with that many units, it would be allowed you would anticipate that there would be a 5-story building on that site, 3 to 5 stories depending. But to maximize the full density of that site, which the city tries to accomplish in certain areas, this being one of them, since it is near the transit station, it would be anticipated that it would be a 5-story building. One other thing I just want to mention also is as part of the 2040 comprehensive plan review and the densities, with that review process, the school district is involved with that, and they are given all of the anticipated densities and future growth numbers so that they can factor that into their planning for schools.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Scanlon?
Madam Chair, to the question, as far as the maximum number of units per acre, we're not just talking about 48. I mean, it's 16 to 48. So there's a range here for us to be working in that we're not necessarily having. And I understand that the applicant is looking on the high or exceeding the maximum proposed here, but the way it reads is 16 to 48. So there is opportunity within the way this is zoned to have something less than that.
Commissioner Scanlon, so the comprehensive plan actually guides it for 24 to 48. The current zoning is 16. So a development that would be proposed on this site would have to have at least 24 units per acre.
Okay. I mean, regardless, there's
Correct.
still a variable there.
Yes.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
I think that's it. So please come to the podium to speak and address all comments and questions to the chair. Please give me your name and your address as you speak.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thank you. My name is John Jensen. Here with my wife. We both live 140th and Galaxy, and we own rental property behind the building, just up 153rd. My concern with you is, again, the height. It is a beautiful building, but you know what? It's turned into a cookie-cutter building. They're all over the town. You can find them everywhere you go. So I know when I come down Cedar from Lakeville, I can see the one on 140th from the top of the hill. You know, we're on flat land here. I'm concerned with the population density increasing. Our roads are already horrible. And not getting any better. And now we're gonna add 240 cars to a street that doesn't have a stoplight, that has buses constantly going in and out. I'm worried about the safety, the buses, the rents for the rest of the people that live behind there. They're, trying to, have single-family homes for people. And I don't know if we've looked at that. We're probably gonna need a stoplight there. But yeah, the building's everywhere. And I think that when that was originally zoned, it was probably for light commercial or some retail property. And when this new 40 came out, or whatever the heck that is, they opened it up to residential, but they didn't really, because they didn't fully make everything transparent. So maybe there was a mistake made at that point, and I don't want to compound it with another one. But I do think it's too tall, and I think it's too many people.
Thank you, John. Anyone else?
Hi there, good evening. My name's Lynette Olson. I live in the Cedar Point Townhomes, which is directly behind it on Garrett Drive, which is the cul-de-sac, that's a circle. I've lived in Apple Valley since 2003 when the old transit center was there. And when it was operational, I know a lot of the parking, because we had parking problems at that time, would park in the circle. So as a homeowner in the townhouse, if I had company coming over, there was no parking because cars would park in that cul-de-sac because there was no parking in the original transit center. So when the new transit center was created, it was wonderful because now people could park and could visit me and we wouldn't have to worry about parking. So when I was listening to the presentation and having the limited parking, I got concerned again because now my fear is the cul-de-sac is right behind this complex. Visitors are going to start parking in that cul-de-sac. We have a young, the townhouses or the buildings that are directly behind it that are not in the cul-de-sac. There's a lot of children that play in that cul-de-sac. So now I'm concerned that if people are going to start parking there again, the children that are playing in that area, there's a basketball hoop that's behind there. There could be issues with the children that are playing in the neighborhood. I'm not sure if the sidewalk that's directly behind it is going to still continue to be there. A lot of the people that, walk or that live, further in Apple Valley, that sidewalk gets used constantly. That's on the back side of the old transit center that they use to get to the Cub, to get to Target. Looking at the map, it looks like there's limited use between the, limited area between the parking lot for the parking for the complex, because it looks like there's just a little area between the parking lot and that townhouse complex.
Are you talking south of the building?
Yes, south of the building. So I'm not sure if that sidewalk is still going to be there. That's maintained behind.
Are any of the sidewalks going to be removed?
That's directly behind where the parking lot would be. Is that going to?
On the east side only. So, do you want to come up so we can hear you?
So it'd be kind of where the cul-de-sac is, and there's a sidewalk that's right.
There was a connection between, on the
Yep.
east side, on the east property line, there's an
Okay, so the
existing
east
sidewalk.
is
And there
up.
was a connection to the transit parking lot. That connection is being removed.
So but is there
No.
the one that's going up and down? That would
The
be,
That's
north-south
north.
sidewalk will remain, that is
Okay.
not ours, yeah.
You're talking
What?
south.
so it'd be going, I guess I don't know my directions, but up and,
Can somebody put a thing on it?
so.
Could you,
So the three buildings that are, okay, so the three buildings that are going up and down, yes, so there's a sidewalk that's right there. Is that sidewalk still going to stay there?
Yes.
Okay, but it looks like there's just a little greenery. Is there going to be enough of a buffer between the parking lot there and the sidewalk that you'll have enough of a
That's just
buffer
the treetops,
between?
isn't it?
There's roughly about 10 feet, and there'll be a 6-foot screen fence there as well.
Okay, and is that going to be maintained? Because right now, that's my big beef with the city is that it's not being maintained because nobody's maintaining the old transit center. So the bushes that were there, the trees that are there, nobody's maintaining it, so it's horrendous. And that will be maintained by who's ever doing the complex, or would it be the city that's maintaining that buffer between?
The fence is
And
on the property line
Okay.
essentially, or just inside. So we'll maintain inside our fence
Okay.
and trim on the outside of the fence. But anything off our property,
Okay, but there shouldn't be, okay.
thank you, Christian.
So, but there would be okay, so that was my other concern, is that we want to have a buffer, because that sidewalk is constantly being used today. But the
Thank you.
concern is the parking, if there's limited space, where, like you said to the visitors, where are they gonna, the park? And then, and is it Terry, do we know if there's that little, between the Orchard apartment building, there's a little greenway that has like little sidewalks and little benches?
Address your questions to me.
Okay, there's a little parkway that's between Orchard Apartments and the transit center right now that has like benches, and they have like waste paper baskets. Is that still going to be there? Because is that part of
So
the
we can write all
city?
this stuff down.
Okay, because
and
I
then
wasn't
our-
sure if that's part of the city or if it's part of the apartment building, but I know that that little park area gets used a lot, so that was my concern, is there also gonna be a buffer between there? There's a sidewalk that goes from, I think Gaslight, that then does go to, wraps around, that would go up to, I think it's 100 Whitney Drive or 157th. Yes, that direction there.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that that was still in use, because a lot of people walk that way. They sit there, and I know the Orchard area, they sit there, and I wasn't sure if that was part of the city.
So explain to me that the sidewalks will remain there, so they're not gonna
Okay.
touch that.
Okay, so that was, and then the other thing is the 5 stories. I know with the parking lot there, you're not gonna have trees. My concern is, since my complex is where that cul-de-sac is, are they gonna be able to see into even the townhouses that are up above? Are they gonna be able to see into us? Because they're gonna be up 5 stories. So if they're looking down, now I have to be concerned, are people gonna be able to see into our area where we're living, because they're up 5 stories and they can see down into where we're living? Right now, we don't have anybody there, so we don't have to worry about
Right.
people looking into our business. And then the lights, I think, was it Commissioner Scanlon that talked about the lights beaming into the properties for the parking lot? Because we want them to be safe, but at nighttime, I don't want lights beaming into my neighborhood. So thank you for listening.
Gonna be a big change.
Yes,
Because it's been
definitely.
many, many, many years since there's been anything there, so yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Scanlon?
Madam Chair, Terry, this is kind of maybe a question for Evan, that the question about traffic came up. And along with the traffic that's going to be concentrated with this and the existing with the transit center, what that means going forward as far as intersection control and so forth, if we could talk about that at the next meeting, that'd be helpful.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, yes, we'll be prepared with the response.
All right, thank you.
Any other residents or anybody else would like to speak?
Good evening, my name's Beth Jensen.
Deb?
I live at 141204 Forest Lane up by Galaxy and 140th. However, I do own a townhome in the Cedar Point townhome community there, so just to the east of this proposed building, and I am very unhappy. I don't think it belongs there. 5 stories is too high. It just, as you said, Commissioner Mahol, how you say it, Mahowald?
Yeah.
It doesn't fit in at all. And we don't need to have all that additional apartment complex in that part of Apple Valley. I think it's best to keep on with townhomes. If you want to put anything in there, put more townhomes in there. Keep that community the way it is. It's a nice, quiet community that doesn't have crime. I'm honestly, I'm afraid with low-rent housing, the type of personnel that would be living there, it will make it an unsafe community. So that's all.
Thank you, Deb. Anyone else?
Good evening, Commissioner. I'm Mary Jean Charlebois, and I live at Cedar Point. So I am right next to, I think it's called Charleswood, and then this apartment complex would be next to that. So my first concern is the height and how it's going to really block a lot of views for so many people that live in the residential homes within that neighborhood. And to me, the reason I moved in the area was, and this was 30 years ago to Cedar Point, was because it was residential. There were so many homes and it was family, and it wasn't so condensed. So that's number one concern. And then number two is the parking issue, because even the way it is now, there's parking problems where I live at Cedar Point. You know, some families have 4 cars, some have 3 cars. They're using the guest parking spaces. They're using this cul-de-sac that was referred to. So, and I do know there are times where people park in the transit parking lot because there's not enough parking where we live. So I can't imagine having this larger building with more people and not enough parking, that they're not going to also slip in to park there, and then there's not enough space when it's really busy. So those are my main concerns. And then the traffic, because it's, you know, it's right off of Cedar. There's safety concerns with the families that are right next to us at Chasewood. Their kids are all over on the cul-de-sac street, and I'm just so concerned about the safety. And I do have people that drive into Apple Valley, and this is unfortunate, but with all the new high-rise buildings that are over by the post office, the comments have been, boy, it has gotten so congested in Apple Valley. There are just new buildings all over. It's just not, it's really not, I don't know. They don't feel that it's laid out that well. But so I guess I would like to not have as many levels.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mary Jean. Anyone else?
Hello, Commissioner. Thank you. I'm Kurt Peterschmidt. I live also at that Cedar Point townhomes out in Garnet Way. Everyone actually has made some pretty good points about traffic and density and that kind of thing, but something I hadn't heard yet tonight about what impact or what plans are there for, I mean, you're plopping down a lot of people in a small area. What's the impact going to be on utilities? So it's going to affect power, water, sewage. I mean, that seems to be a lot of people in one place. That's going to put a drain, no pun intended, on some of our utilities there. So has there been any?
The city engineer will come up with, show that next time, I'm guessing, yes.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Anyone else? No one? If there are no further comments, I will close this public hearing. It is the policy of the Planning Commission not to act on an item on the same night of its public hearing. The Planning Commission will weigh all comments and information received tonight in its deliberations at future meetings. This item will continue to appear on future Planning Commission agendas until a recommendation on the petition can be forwarded to City Council. Thank you. That brings us to, we have no land use action items tonight. It brings us to other business, and I have a bicycle and pedestrian plan update from Evan Acosta.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission. I'm excited to bring forward the update, or an update, draft update for the city's bike and pedestrian plan update. And so with me tonight, Gabrielle Grindy with HKGI, the consultant that the city used for drafting and assisting with the technical side of the plan update. So Gabrielle will give the presentation here tonight, but we'll be available for questions. And then special thank you to Commissioner Scanlon and Chair Kurtz for their assistance in the task force meetings we've had to date. Been very helpful with your input, and looking to get input from the rest of the Planning Commission tonight. And then we also want to thank the Dakota County Statewide Health Improvement Partnership who funded this plan update. So without further ado, I'll give you to Gabrielle.
Hi, Gabrielle.
Thank you. Good evening. I will. Am I advancing this or? Okay. All right. Okay, I'll be giving a presentation on a quick overview of the process for this plan, go into some detail in the plan content, and then talk a little bit about project priorities and have a discussion if you have interest in providing feedback. So please feel free to interrupt me if I go through something too quickly. So our process started back in December. We had a kickoff with staff. We had a tour of some of the areas of the city that we wanted to look at, focus in on detail for bike and ped planning. We had engagement beginning in January, and we went through the end of April with online survey, and we had a couple pop-up meetings at city events, and then we had the task force, which has met 3 times so far, and there is potential to have one more task force meeting coming up. So right now we're at the draft plan. Hopefully you've seen the draft plan document, and I will be presenting a high-level summary of that. So this is the summary of all the meetings that we've had so far. We're at the July 16th Planning Commission, so there are 4 more potential meetings occurring in this process. So the plan content is organized into 5 sections. There's the about the plan, summary of community engagement, a summary of the planning context, which has a lot of maps and information evaluating the existing system and then where the gaps are in the system. Then there's guiding principles, which includes some information on best practices and recommendations, and then the implementation section at the end. So that section is not complete. We're waiting for input on priorities, and then we'll finalize that section and finalize the plan. The about the plan section has some information about the timeline, so the planning process as it took place, the phases of the plan, and then the purpose of the plan. So that's somewhat based on the SHIP grant that Evan mentioned, how that was written and what the goals according to SHIP are, which include addressing the citywide network, making sure that the network is complete, making sure that we're engaging with the community, so getting input from residents as much as possible, identifying best practices, and then guiding future program and policy directives. So the benefits of a connected system in any community include safety, health, which includes physical health and mental health, and then social health. So seeing your neighbors face to face when you're biking or walking brings the community together rather than when you're in a vehicle and you're not seeing people. Air quality, sustainable and efficient transportation networks. So if you have more people choosing to bike or walk rather than using their vehicles, it creates more efficient networks. Livability and mobility, which goes along with the 2 lower ones, household and community prosperity and regional economic competitiveness. So biking and walking in a community and having a connected network just makes the community more valuable, more marketable to people to visit and to live in that community. And then recreation. So that's something that was really important in Apple Valley because a lot of the people that we heard from use the system for recreation. So even though the SHIP goals really want to focus on that commuter network, really a lot of the people in the community use it for recreation. So when we're looking at who we're planning for, we're trying to plan for the people that are not able to use a vehicle. So people that are not able to drive yet, people under 16, older people that can't drive, people that can't afford to drive, people that use public transportation either because they choose to or it's more efficient, and then also those recreational users. And then this diagram at the bottom of the page shows biking comfort levels. So this is a graphic that has been used nationally for many bike and ped plans. And when we ask people in the community to respond to an online survey and at the pop-up meetings about what type of bicyclist they are, we got most responses in that 50% interested but concerned category. So that's really who we want to plan for. Those are people who would like to bike but are concerned about the safety. So they really want to be on those off-road facilities and they want to have safe crossings. So in Apple Valley, where there are a lot of major roadways with high speed and several lanes of traffic to cross, that's important, being able to cross those roadways safely. The next section is community engagement. So in this section, we highlight some of the responses we got from the community. I see I have a note that's, we didn't have some photos from the pop-up, but we did complete a couple pop-up meetings where we talked to a lot of people at the Midwinter Fest and the Home and Garden Show. And a lot of people that we talked to, again, talked about the recreational value. So they like all the off-road trails. They like being able to go throughout the county, so the greenways, when those are complete, will be really important to that circulation network and allowing people to safely travel by bicycle and by foot throughout the county and the community being off-road. So we have some infographics in this chapter that show some of the answers, again, that we got from people in the survey. So we asked about what people want to see most in terms of improvements to the system. We did hear a lot about the safety, so the safe crossings is really important. Then we also have several maps that talk about some of the needs in terms of demographics and some of the Met Council needs. So community area of needs, look at where are there areas of higher poverty, and then the environmental justice areas, that's an MPCA term, so that looks at diversity and also economic disparity and where are those higher needs. So you can see up along Cedar, on the east side of Cedar, and then in the south central area of the Cedar, those are more areas that are focused on providing systems that provide bike and walk facilities. Then in the planning context, we have several summaries of all of the plans that have been done that impact this plan. So the city's comprehensive plan, some safe routes to schools plans, some of the county's plans. Also a summary of some bike and ped related resources. So the state has a lot of resources that can be referred to for how to safely plan biking and walking facilities. Then we have a map of the existing system. So the city is pretty well covered. Sidewalks are in most of the neighborhoods, and then off-road trails are on a lot of the major roadways, and the county greenways are identified on McAndrews and then the North Creek Greenway moving north-south through the city. Then we have some other maps identifying where some of the destinations are in the city, the Regional Bicycle Transportation Network, again, a Met Council designation. We have some information on the ring route, talking about some of the needs for safe crossings and identifying that it is really pedestrian facilities right now, but there is that desire to have safe biking facilities, whether that's on road or providing within the sidewalk and the boulevard a space for bicyclists so that they can feel safe without getting in the way of pedestrians in that area. Then we have more maps identifying where some of the gaps are, some of the transit facilities that affect people who need to bike or walk to get to transit, identifying also major road barriers, so those roads that are higher volume and then also higher speed, identifying the Cedar 42 intersection, which is the highest volume intersection in the county, and how there's the need to either get around that for bicycle and pedestrian movement or either providing safe ways for people to move through that. Then the next section is guiding principles, so that we have reorganized the guiding principles from the 2010 bike walk plan. We've condensed them into 4 overall guiding principles with some principles. So they are reducing barriers to biking and walking. That's the main guiding principle. So how can we do that? Encouraging alternative modes of transportation. So encouraging people to choose other modes than their vehicle. Enhancing the trails and sidewalks in the community with elements that aid in navigation. So that would be wayfinding, and then also other supportive facilities. So those could be benches, landscaping, trees that provide shade, items that provide a sense of place and make people want to experience the trails. and then maintaining a safe and functional network. So this is a list of the 6 E's, which are part of the SHIP requirements. We've added a couple, so education, engineering, equity, enforcement, encouragement, and evaluation are part of the E's that should be values used as you're looking at recommending improvements to your bike walk network. And then we've added experience and ethics. That's been in some publications recently saying, as you're thinking about the network, experience is really important to get people to want to use it. And then ethics, just thinking about all the people that need to use it and how important it is when you're making decisions. We have some best practices, which include some information from those resources I mentioned earlier, the State Bicycle Facility Manual, which talk about roadway treatments and crossing treatments, some of the different physical implementation ways that you can do that, and then also planning for everyone. So if you build a system that works for someone who's 8-year-old and someone who's 80 years old, then it should work for everyone. So that's just a general value in terms of bike and walk planning and placemaking. And then trail design and maintenance is another operational best practice to keep in mind when you're planning these facilities. They will need to be maintained, so making sure you're thinking about that. Then we have several high-level recommendations, which include providing policies. So we did not write a complete streets policy, but recommendation carried over from the 2010 plan is that the city develop a complete streets policy. So several communities in the metro area do have those that can be referred to. Also developing an e-bike policy, and the red page here includes some information about e-bike policies that we've cited from other cities, and also some information from the state DOT. So this can be used as a resource if the city wants to develop an e-bike policy. We also have some recommendations just in general on how to implement those guiding principles. So building the facilities that help to provide that connected network. And then also the promotion, so providing either events. We had some people that asked about, there used to be a bike with the mayor, something like that, some program that used to occur, and one of the residents we talked to said, could something like that happen again to bring more people out, having those kind of encouragement and promotional programs that will encourage people to use the system. Then we identify largely throughout the city a vision of a connected network. So looking at the map in the upper left corner, those thicker lines show the county greenways. So those could be the spines of the system. The other solid lines could be other off-road bike routes, and then the dashed line in the southern part of the city could be potential on-road facility, and then the red highlights the ring route, which is primarily pedestrian route. So having a connected system allows people to get onto one of those spines, which allows them to get onto another spine, and this creates a connection to the rest of the county and other communities as well. Then we also have some precedent images and recommendations related to wayfinding in the community, to operations and maintenance, and then also some more programming ideas and educational ideas for promoting biking and walking. Then we get to the final chapter, which is implementation. So we have 2 maps. One of the maps highlights where the trail gaps are, and we've identified from the 2010 plan what those projects are that would complete the trail gaps that have not been completed yet. And then working with city staff, we've identified a preliminary prioritization. And then the second map and table shows the intersections that we're recommending for improvements in terms of safe crossings, and those have not been prioritized yet. So those are identified on the bottom map and table, and then the top one is the trail gaps map and table. Then we also include some options and resources for funding. So as the city looks to implement these facilities, they can working with the county to implement some of these that are on county roads and facilities, and then also look at other funding sources to get these implemented. So finally, I've identified the top 5 priority projects, and they're all in the northern part of the city. And the numbers listed on the map identify where they are in terms of order. So 1 on 140th would be the top priority project. We also had a resident email city staff asking for this, along with some other gaps to be completed there. because of the schools and other community facilities in that area. And then 2 on McAndrews, so that would need county coordination. 3 and 4 are in that area of higher need according to the MPCA and Met Council statistics. And then 5, again, on McAndrews, that would be county coordination as well. So looking to get feedback from you on these top 5 priority projects, or if you think any others should rise to the top.
Thank you. Anybody?
Thanks for your presentation. Yes, I'm living on the north side of the Apple Valley area, and I'm looking at your number 1 priority. Is that because of the construction of the townhomes that are over in that area off 140th? Is that what that's, the break in that is, what you're looking at for a priority?
Madam Chair, Commissioner, so largely the prioritization is a remnant from the 2010 plan. So these were ranked on a large series of criteria in 2010 that included, they had a cost factor, they had Gabrielle kind of identified a preliminary, arterial component of it or network component of it. So most of the gaps identified in 2010, or a significant amount, have been closed. So what I guess, looking at gap number 1, which we're happy to report is in the capital improvement plan and budget for next year, so will be closed in 2026. This is, as outlined, this is effectively the top 5 remaining gaps from 2010. So I guess to your question, we could provide a little bit more detail on those criteria that were used in 2010, but there was a long list of factors that went into each significant segment.
Okay. I was just using that for an example, because I walk in that area all the time, and I think there's a walking path or a paved path on the north side of 140th that goes down quite a ways, but there is the old par 3 construction area that's going up right now, and I was kind of wondering if that's kind of the case, what you're looking to continue that through.
Correct. Yeah, this is just west of that new Eagle Point townhome development.
Okay.
So this is that'd be the last segment west of that needs to be closed. And then you can kind of see, not quite as highlighted, but actually steal the mouse from you. There's, in the underlying here, we have another gap on 140th, and most of you are probably familiar with the curve here from 140th between Garden View and Hayes. So does that answer your?
Yes, it does. Thank you. And I'm glad you referenced e-bikes and that kind of thing, because our neighborhood's full of kids riding scooters and e-bikes, and nobody pedals anymore. They move pretty quick.
Commissioner Scanlon?
Madam Chair, I'd just like to thank both of you for your leadership on this, that it's been enjoyable working on it with you, and very educational. And it really fits into what the city is doing with the park system, is updating the parks, what the county has done with the trail system, and how now the city is taking, and like you said, we're starting to fill these gaps, identifying where new gaps are, to be able to move forward with this, and the whole popularity of it with bikes. And it was interesting to learn too with seniors or older generation, how they're embracing e-bikes, and the fact that it's allowing them to something that they in the past wouldn't be able to maybe undertake. Now they have the flexibility of taking on these trail system that we have, and it really is opening up to them. So that's appreciated with the network. I noticed this week on Cedar Avenue with crossing, we're putting in or the county is putting in mid-island lights for crossing to assist with if you get stuck on the island, that you have some reference point?
Yeah, Commissioner Scanlon, yeah, that's a dual purpose function that those flash buttons have. So for anyone not aware, if you haven't been on the section of Cedar that was just paved, mill and overlaid, that'd be from County Road 42 north to, I believe it goes up to where it turns into 77. So you'll see at the intersections now in the median, they've added the pedestrian push-button signals, and those provide I believe they provide an audible component for those that are hearing impaired, so it kind of gives them that ADA component, as well as provides the refuge in the middle for folks to continue their journey across. And then lastly, it does, as you've probably seen, if you've seen it in your vehicle, it draws your attention as a driver now. You've seen that, oh, there's something in the middle now. So those are multi-function, and they're a welcome addition to the.
Yeah, it is, because it's the difficulty in trying to cross Cedar Avenue that it helps if you end up getting stuck.
You can't walk it fast enough.
Yeah, you have some possibly control over it. I was going to make one comment, and this is something Evan and I have talked about back and forth that I have a passion for, is to look at in the future, but it's, you can mention as far as there's a whole, this would fall into another project, but is speed limits within certain park areas that the city now has the flexibility of controlling speed limits in as far as parkway speeds of 20, 25 miles an hour, which we didn't previously have the ability to do. That was all state controlled. So you said that there was a project in the future here that there are grant, monies to be able to, that would fit into.
Yes, so the city has received and is in the process of finalizing a grant agreement for the Safe Streets and Roads for All federal grant. So we will be completing a comprehensive safety action plan, which is more of a vehicle level study, and speed limits is a perfect component of that study. Whereas the bike and ped plan obviously focuses a little bit more on the pedestrian and bicycle aspect. So, if we weren't right behind this plan with that Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, we might try and incorporate that into this somehow, but given that we have been selected for funding and are finalizing a grant agreement for that separately, that would be a great opportunity to just pick that up pretty much right after
Makes perfect sense for that to fit into that.
Absolutely.
Discussion. So again, thank you, both of you.
Yep, thank you.
Commissioner Pruitt?
Yeah, thanks, Chair Kurtz. Great job, Evan and Gabrielle. I really appreciate you taking the time to share the presentation. Regarding safe crossing, and I feel two ways about it when I'm driving, and I grew up in Bloomington, Indiana, and I go back there, and they really promote biking, right? They want to change the downtown into a very bikeable community. And I'm not sure that there's an opportunity who owns and controls the roadways, but when I'm driving, I'm very frustrated when I come to a stoplight and can't turn right on red. However, when I'm biking or walking, I'm like, I feel safer, and I know that that's why they do it. So is there any consideration of that, or just general, and again, it may be controlled by the state or the DOT, I'm not sure, but I'm just curious on when we think about, safe crossings and encouraging the community to bike, the no turn on red thought. And you may not have the ability to, I get it, it's about the bike trails, but I'm just.
Yeah, that's a great question, Commissioner. That's something that I'll give an answer, and then Gabrielle will probably, with more wisdom than me, jump right in and correct me. But we would incorporate something to the effect of the city should consider evaluating criteria such as that in that recommendations chapter. It's a great point. It's one that I haven't considered. Maybe Gabrielle has run across it before, but we would certainly be happy to take a closer look at that before we finalize the plan and see if there's a way that we can incorporate a sort of a flag or a hand raise that says, hey, when you're thinking about on-street bike facilities, how does that work when it comes to signalized intersections? And Gabrielle, if you have anything to add.
Well, I just know that around schools, that's definitely considered. There are lots of intersections around schools that have that no turn on red for that reason exactly, but I don't know what control the city has, if you can do that on county intersections or state intersections, but yeah, I
just curious.
Yeah, that's a good
Thank
question.
you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sandell?
Madam Chair, Evan Gabrielle, thank you for all of your work on this. Going off of the safe crossings thing, is 42 and Garden View one of those that's being looked at?
Yes, Commissioner. So County Road 42 and Garden View Drive is scheduled for complete reconstruction by Dakota County in 2027 and 2028. So the stretch of County Road 42 from the Burnsville border all the way to 147th, sort of where it curves and you go up by like Walmart, that all is scheduled for reconstruction over those 2 years. The specific intersection of Garden View and 42 has been a topic of extensive discussions to specifically to outline how do we get pedestrians across all 4 directions there, and then factoring in, obviously, we have frontage roads there that make it that much farther to get kind of where you're going. So that is in the county CIP, and with the way that would work, it's also in our CIP as a kind of partner with them in that.
Great. It'll be too late for me, but I don't let my son go that way right now because we were in the car and saw somebody run a red light, and he was like, "Oh, that's why you don't let me scoot across this." I said, "Yeah."
Yes.
Okay. And then my other question is on the priorities 3 and 4 up on Palomino. I literally was just walking there today. Is that the north side doesn't have? Okay.
That's correct. So the crossing there is over Trunk Highway 77. So that bridge there is owned by MnDOT, and that bridge is a little too narrow to facilitate. Well, frankly, it's too narrow for a ped crossing as it is now. If you've ever had to walk or bike across it, the sidewalk there is roughly 3 feet wide.
Yeah.
So one of the things we've been working with on MnDOT is they have scheduled improvements along their Trunk Highway 77 corridor, and we'd like to ask them to look at making improvements to that bridge deck to facilitate pedestrian crossings of the bridge on both the north and south side. And then the city would happily jump in and close gaps 3 and 4 to make that, a loop at that point.
Perfect. Okay. And then my final question is the McAndrews gap between Garden View and Pennock. There's the trail on the north side and not on the south side. And I know that the county has been kind of talking about things with that, and I've lost sight of where that's at. Is that potentially in the works?
Yes, Commissioner, that's in the works. I don't believe, there was at one point a CIP date for that project that was since delayed due to kind of scope creep from the related work. And I don't know if that pertained to roadway improvements that would have to be made at the same time. But I don't currently have a date that they intend to close that at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Anyone else? In my beautiful world that I live in, I was thinking, wouldn't that be wonderful if we could become, like how they have at schools where they have the guard, to flag and stop traffic, to walk across the street or something? Maybe down the road they'll have robots, and the robot can walk the people across the thing. Just was thinking about that. The other thing was I went to Italy last fall, and everywhere they have these fresh fountains where you can fill your water bottles and stuff like that. Now, I know we have probably some water fountains here and there, but wouldn't it be wonderful to have on the trails, have like a filtered water fountain where you can fill up your water? Like I said, I live in a beautiful world.
That would be an incredible amenity to offer for our trails. I don't know for sure if that's something that's on any of the county greenways or not yet, but we certainly could look into that component and maybe report back with some positive news on that.
Okay. Let me know when those robots are existing. Anybody else?
One over there.
We could volunteer. Like I said, we could all just say, this is my weekend to work. I'll go volunteer up there. Okay, good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gabrielle.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Were you done?
There was just one more slide saying the next steps. So we will be going to Parks and Rec and City Council in the next month.
Perfect. That's good. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Timbonetti, updates?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Just a quick reminder, your next meeting is Wednesday, August 6th, also followed by the August 20th meeting date. I also want to jump ahead a bit here, but I was informed this week that this room is going to go for some upgraded improvements on the sound system and the media system. So either September 17th meeting or October 15th, we're going to have you in the Regency room for one of those meetings, but we'll let you know well in advance of that meeting. So we'll give you fair heads up and just reminder that this will probably be under construction here, but I think we can all fit in the Regency room and we can successfully handle our meetings in there. Finally, just want to thank Commissioner Becky Sandall for giving a great presentation today at our Rotary Club meeting. She talked about the empowerment of the women and the girls of our world and how important it is for athletics and just team spirit, team building. And she did a great job, phenomenal job. And her husband, Ben, just outgoing president, also did a great job. And they're two fantastic people. So if you would like to come to one of our Rotary Club meetings and make a presentation on anything that you are passionate about, we'd love to have you. Or if you'd like to join Rotary, I'd be happy to talk to you about that too.
Still looking for my talent.
I hear you. I'm looking right at you, Jody. And that's it. So hope you have a good night and a great weekend.
Thank you, Tim. Congratulations, Becky. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Scanlon, seconded by Commissioner Halas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This meeting has adjourned.